Now that I have, okay, it's recording, that's good. I said, I'm going to let me go back. Now that I have all the experience of teaching, and then I had the university teaching and all those experiences, I'm going to come back in and I'm going to sort of let this program grow into whatever it's going to grow into, whatever it's going to be. Because I had experienced the old time group. I don't know if Dr. Soja's even talked to you about that, but the old time ensemble at UNCG, you know, it's banjos and guitars and accordions and zithers and everything else, whatever it might be. And the group turned into whatever the musicians wanted it to be. And so I said, that's what I'm going to do when I go in. And I started with ukulele because that was, you know, the newest thing in school music at the time. And I loved ukulele, by the way. And I started doing with that, but it was more notation based. The program that I was using was called it's the James Hill Ukulele Initiative, and Ukulele in the Classroom is the name of that. But I started with that, and then the students just started asking for, you know, music that was their music. And I said, okay, I'm gonna let it be what it's gonna be. So I started using that music, and then I ended up doing modern band before I even knew what modern band was. As far as Little Kids Rock and that organization, I didn't even know what that was at the time. But then when I found that, I started finding out what is Little Kids Rock and what is modern band as we think of it as a training process. So I actually went to a Little Kids Rock training, and the training didn't cost anything. I just had to travel to South Carolina to go do that. And man, was that so much fun. You take a guitar, or they give you a guitar to use, and they start teaching you, you know, how to play really simple chords. Now you don't have to play all 6 strings. They started teaching you that, and they showed you just, here's the instrument, put your finger here and play, you know, one finger, now play. Great. They show you 1 finger chord, and they show you how you can do it without reading notation, because that's how typically popular musicians learn by. They're not reading traditional notation. They do read notation, it's just not traditional notation. And so I changed, and this was very difficult. I changed from my classical training that I had at UNCG for years and years. I was a trumpet player. And I moved away from that and moved into how popular musicians learn, which is mostly lead sheets. You learn your chords, you got your lead sheets, and then you listen to music and you make music with your friends. So that's what my students really started doing. We were using modern band approaches. Then I got the training. Then I went to their conference that happens in Fort Collins, Colorado, which is an absolute blast. I mean, it's incredible. It's kind of like a huge church revival or something. It's the way I can describe it. A lot of fun. People make music every single night. The participants get bands together, and they make music every single night on stages, giving concerts, winning instruments, getting instruments given to them, and all that kind of stuff, which is a lot of fun. So this, you can look up like modern band or littlekidsrock.org. You can look that up. That you can find all kinds of information about that. The only thing I was searching for it today, and I was really looking for their training, because it's all online now. Mine was face-to-face, but it's all online now. Of course it is. And I couldn't really find exactly how to get to that training. It's called Modern Band 101. And then after you take the Modern Band 101, you experience that, which typically takes 4 to 5 hours, I think. Then you can get into the Little Kids Rock teachers on Facebook. You cannot get into the teacher section of Facebook or the Facebook page until you take that. But anyway, look that up, because it's so well worth having that on your resume. You would not believe how much, it's almost like speaking a second language, how important in the music, teaching music. Like you have Modern Band 101 or Little Kids Rock, and the people either understand what that is or you actually have the opportunity to explain what that is. It's really important and makes a difference when you're applying for a position. Other than that, I mean, it's just so much fun and kind of eye-opening. Let me see, what else was I going to tell you about it? Let me show you. I hope my camera can pick this up. I'm not sure if it can, because it's zoomed in so much. Here, whoop, here. Can't even see where we are. Drum sets. I can't show it with the camera. It's kind of weird. But anyway, I have 5 drum sets in my room. 5 drum sets in my music room, and I have 3 electric basses. 2 of them are the U basses. You know what a U bass is, right? It's the size of a baritone ukulele, but it has thick rubber strings, so my elementary kids can hold that. It's not too heavy. But I also have a Ibanez rocker. It's called a micro bass. They play that. They say it's heavy, but I also have kindergartners that think it's so cool they'll hold it. They don't care. And all of those, like, you might think, well, how'd you get all that stuff? All the basses are all mine. I purchased them. Probably shouldn't have, because I should be paying all my money for it. But that's what I have. And keyboards, I have 6. At least 61 or 70 some keys, full size keys, and all of those have been donated. I just put out on Facebook, I need keyboards, and I got 6 of them. People just have them, that they don't use them, and so they sent me those. I got those, and then through grants, I have probably 90 ukuleles, from sopranos to tenors and concerts, even a baritone. I have 2 electric guitars. You know, these little kids, they don't get guitars hard for elementary kids. It's because you've got 6 strings. So sometimes if I have a kid who really wants to play guitar, I put a piece of foam in there and mute 6 and 5, and just let them play 4 strings, because they can handle 4 strings better, way better than 6. So I'll give you an example of what's going on today. My 5th graders have one project for music the entire school year. And that is, they have to do something musical in a performance. Now that performance can be on video, or the performance can be face-to-face, which we think we're going to be able to have that at the end of this school year outside, as in we plan to invite parents to come watch it. They used to come to the cafeteria and watch it, which of course we can't do that now, but maybe in the spring they'll be able to do that outside. So that's their project that they have to do. And some of them beg, can I dance? Sure, you can dance. So some people are like playing the instruments to a particular song, and we might use the karaoke track to kind of fill in the sound, but they're playing along with it. And then some kids who are going to be dancing, they have to make up dance. They have to remember it. Has to be choreographed, and I accept that. So if you think about, well, what's that one project, that one requirement for their project? It's actually a culmination of what they start learning in kindergarten, and then they spiral. You talk about a spiral curriculum. What I do in the classroom is like the perfect example of a spiral curriculum, because they start in kindergarten by just, I want to be able to pick up the ukulele, hold it the right way, strum it, be able to pick the strings one at a time. Kindergarten, I expect them to be able to play a C chord. I don't know if you know ukulele, but a C chord, one finger, A minor, one finger, the F chord, add another finger. And that's all I expect out of kindergarten. And I mean, they can just sit there and strum, and they're rock stars. They don't even, they can play those 3. I'm happy. We get those. But then when they come to 1st grade, I expect them to really be solid on those chords on the ukulele, but they're also playing drum set. Kindergartners start right on drum sets. Bass, they learn bass and they learn keyboard. But then by the time they're in 5th grade, they're playing 3-finger chords, chord progressions, usually 1, 6, 4, 5. Usually that's what they play, those chords. And they can play any of the instruments, but they usually by the 5th grade they'll start having a specialty. I do not recommend that they specialize. They just end up doing it themselves. And when they get comfortable with one instrument and they're willing to perform on that one instrument, I'm happy. Now, typically my 5th graders will choose one song that's their song, but they might perform on 3 other songs that belong to other students, like it's some other student's song, and they'll play some other instrument. And that's what they do. To them, this is like Disney World. You know, this room is Disney World. They come in, they see the drum sets, they see it's something plugged in with an amp, and it's the coolest thing that they can think of. So they're really interested and have fun doing it. It's rare that I have students that just will not do anything, but I do have them. But that's, you know, when you get to that point, there's something else going on. It's not just my class and music. They're so shy or something that I can't pull them out. But typically everybody does participate because they're rock stars. I mean, we were playing today was Circles by Post Malone. And I mean, you get rid of the parts that elementary doesn't need to hear, but you can find those on. I have a friend here that's making a lot of play-alongs, and they have the graphics in these play-alongs that Little Kids Rock uses in their play-alongs. If you go to Little Kids Rock, you go to teacher resources, you're going to find hours and hours of training and lessons, and they're all designed. Some of them are designed for you, the teacher, but almost all of them are. It doesn't matter if you're in 3rd grade or this is the first time you've ever played bass. Those lessons are for you, and it doesn't matter how old you are, because the teaching on it's really good and they're for everybody. So I really recommend that you go take a look at Little Kids Rock and the teacher resources, and you're just going to find hours and hours of lessons and play-alongs that are really a lot of fun. They even teach you how to do your body drum set. So if you don't have a drum set, they teach you how to use your body and right hand, left hand, and right foot, and do that for your drum set. Kids really don't like doing that because I have drum sets, but it's, you know, they do that and it's really good for that, and it can get you started. What kind of questions do you have?
I've got one.
Okay.
They're just kind of looking around and I'm like, okay. When it comes down to application of this, if you had somebody come into your classroom, you had a pop-in observation by your administrator, and they said, it looks to me like these kids are just, you know, picking a song out of the air. How are you meeting the North Carolina standards for music in this class doing modern band, even though we're in Alabama?
All right. Well, the one that I would put on nearly all of my lesson plans is the one relative to playing instruments. That are playing instruments, that's meeting that one. And then the going along with the culture, the culture part of it, or I can't even tell which one it is.
Contextual relevancy, that strand.
Yeah, that one. I mean, you can hit on so many. My administrators don't ask about it. I just go ahead and include the standards. Typically, always they're playing an instrument, and then you go on to the social strand, and those get almost every single time. Now, you get into kindergarten through 2nd. Those sometimes are a little bit different because they don't just choose whatever song. Your fifth grade mostly can come in. I mean, today we had a wild class, and they just were asking. They're just now getting to the point where they're trusting. They're trusting me that I'm going to allow them to perform their songs. Because when I tell fifth graders, this happens every single year, and I have had these kids since kindergarten. It's like they don't believe that I'm going to let them choose their song. I don't know if y'all know what the glob lob lob is. You ever seen that video?
No.
I don't know. I know that last year they were telling me, well, we want to do glob lob lob. And I went, I do not even understand the words coming out of your mouth. But if you were to go on YouTube and you just type GLAB, it's just gonna come up. And it's from some little movie. And he is the stuff of human thoughts and imagination that come out of books. And he's just this big blob. But that I don't know how it got popular. I don't know if it was TikTok, but every single one of them in the classroom knew what it was. And every single one of them joined in and sang. It's like and it's the remix. If you're looking at them, it's the remix. And it's the silliest, absolutely silliest thing you ever saw. And they absolutely love it. They're jumping. It looks like a church in here. I mean, they're jumping and hollering. And now I have microphones. They have 4 microphones go into a large speaker system. And that just, anybody wants to go to the microphone. Absolutely anybody. So it's in the room. It's like they're on a stage and they're performing. I'm sorry, I got away from your question, but my administrators, they never ask that question. I mean, they never do. But on my lesson plans, I always include, which strand and which objective is covered. And of course, you could probably put 10 different, 10 different standards on there that you're meeting in any one class. And so I don't know, they really don't ask me that. I mean, they really love the aspect that the program is a jewel in their crown. And they really, really like that because I have groups that go play, they've been, before COVID, they were on a podcast. They, WGHP.
Yeah.
They came, Cindy Farmer came to the school and interviewed them, about 3 or 4 of them. They were in the newspaper and they played in an ACC tournament game. And I mean, they were just the biggest rock stars you ever saw. So to an administrator, it's a huge deal that the groups can go out and play, and they really like it. I mean, it's like a good marching band. It's the same thing as if you have a really good marching band and they travel everywhere. It's kind of that they get out of it. So, they just see it as something very positive, and they don't ever question what's going on. My assistant principal, she has her own pair of drumsticks in here that every time she comes in, she picks up the drumsticks and comes to a drum set and she plays along with whatever it is we're doing. And that's her way of making relationships and showing that, she can be a part of all of this as well. Of course, the kids just have their jaws on the floor when she does that. But yeah, she does that. So I only sort of answered that question.
You answered it.
But that's kind of that's the situation that it is.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So are they learning to read any sort of like notation? Or are they just doing lead sheet? Is it music standard notation? What are they reading?
Okay. Globally, to answer that question, minimal amount of notation. However, I'm going to step out of here. I'm going to step out of the picture just for a second. I do have a book that the K2s really work on. I'll explain it. Okay, here I'm coming back. I'm really here. I'm not leaving you. All right. I have a philosophical rift in my soul, and that is about notation.
Right.
Okay. And so I created this book right here myself for the xylophones and the pianos. So my kindergarten and first graders are on the xylophone and piano unit right now. And so they just experienced just play the instrument, listen to me tell you which letters to play, a sequence of letters that are on my whiteboard over here, and I just put them up there, and they have to play it until they figure out what song it is. And I never tell them what song it is. They have to tell me what song it is, because they put the sequence together enough, and then they go, oh, that's Baby Shark. Yes, it is. And so there's about 5 or 6 on there. And then they actually look at this notation. And the very first one is this, it's all about B. B is the only pitch they have to play. But like they understand that's the introduction. They have to track with their finger while we do this. And then they put it on their instrument. Do they look at it while they play? Maybe some. But we go through multiple times where they just track with the soundtrack that's going on the CD. And yes, they're learning what this is, and that there are multiple types of notation, and this is one of them. And that most musicians around the world just play music and listen to each other and learn what's accepted by the way people react to them while they're making these sounds on the instrument and together. So this is the one form on when they're playing ukulele and they're actually looking at something. I have a book full of the sheet protectors that has lead sheets. It's just packed with lead sheets of songs that make their cut, like Baby by Justin Bieber. I can't tell you how many times I've played, like all those bazillions of hits he has on that. Half of them are mine, because my kids play that to learn how to play the ukulele. But that's lead sheets. But then sometimes, rarely, we have somebody who really wants to learn licks on probably the bass or the ukulele, and we'll look at tab. But that's usually just a few students, not an entire class. I show them what it is, but that's kind of complicated. It's a great thing to use, but you really have to spend a lot of time on it. So there's sort of the answer. Multiple types of notation, yes. Traditional, as you think of it, traditional notation, mostly that's in the younger grades. They get exposed to that. Except during COVID, we had 3rd grade played the flutophones or recorders. They played those. So they had a lot of notation. But then once they get to where they're actually just playing the songs they want to play, the notation is mostly lead sheets. Oh, wait, I have to show you this. All right. Circles by Post Malone. This is the way I teach the keyboard. So they're reading the column, but then they're moving across. And this tells you how many times you play this chord. This highlights which chord it is. And we don't really talk about which chord it is. We talk about, where it is and how many of them that they play. But when they're playing the keyboard, they can play level 1 is just C, C and B, and C. And then level 2 is 2 fingers. And level 3 is 3 fingers. And every once in a while, very rare, we get some kid who goes, well, I've played this and they've earned, I call it, it's a skills test that they play for me. And they go, well, I've already done this. I said, well, play 4 fingers. What does that mean? Your left hand has to play the note that's in the gray. So you've got your bass going on here while they're playing these chords above. And do they know that's really complicated and hard? Nah, I just tell them, just do it. So that's the way. And you will see this if you ever look at, well, there's this guy's music teacher here in Guilford County. His name's Andrew Beach, and he has just put together a lot of play alongs that have, would highlight on the keyboard part with this red rectangle, 1, 2, 3, then it moves to here, then it moves to here to show them when to move their fingers. But there's a lot of those out there, play alongs, and a lot of them do use that type of notation. I just came up with it because it's the thing that made sense to my kids. That's all. But there's all kinds of notations for keyboard as well. Long answer for notation question.
This is kind of a two-part question, might be three, I don't know. So I'm gathering you are K through 5?
Yes.
Okay. How often do you see your students? Is it once a week per class?
Yeah.
So what do you, I'm a band person, so I'm trying to relate this in mind of like rehearsal retention. What do you do as far as like, not every kid has a drum set at home and things like that.
Yeah.
How do they practice outside of class? Are they able to?
Practicing outside of class is, I would say, a rare thing. I do get videos from kids every once in a while where they put together their pots and pans drum set. And we talk about that. There's no shame in having pots and pans and boxes, cardboard boxes, put them together. Oh my gosh, last year we had some little first grader and his sister looked up how to make a kick pedal. It was pencils and cardboard and rubber bands. And they looked it up online. It's a beautiful little setup, and it hits just a cardboard box. And so they make up whatever they need. Now, the actual Little Kids Rock has, so this is your hi-hat. It's your right hand coming over to your left shoulder is your hi-hat. Your left hand on your left leg is your snare drum. And then your right foot is your kick. And so there's a lot of lessons where you can use that body drum set. I've already got this year 4 or 5 kids and parents that have said, well, we just got a drum set, or we're getting it for Christmas. I have a lot of kids who get it, and I don't even know how many kids have drum sets and electronic. I have no idea, but it's quite a few. Because I will make videos of just a class, just a regular class, and then post it on the school Facebook or dojo, whatever we happen to use. And I'm not ashamed. I do it on purpose to show the parents, this is what your child is doing, your child can do. Now go get them this thing, and it doesn't have a joystick to it. It's got sticks, but doesn't have a joystick. And they do. And it's rare they even ask me, which drum set should I get? But they get them. And sometimes they ask, and I'll field those questions. Just today, a lady came in and said her son was getting a bass. Now I have 2 kids with basses. One's in the 2nd grade, one's in the 3rd grade.
Yeah. Not U basses either, are there? They're like the real big heavy ones, aren't they?
One is the U bass. The 2nd grade girl has a U bass, and the other one is getting the heavy kind. It's a short scale, but it's the heavy kind. Looks like a rocker bass. It's just a rock bass, but I don't even know how to explain that. But that's when they experience all these instruments in the room. And they literally are on the perimeter of my room, so that the center of the floor is where you sit playing ukulele. And then every class you play everything. Like you can play everything. You have the opportunity to play everything during one class. And then some kid says, I love playing bass. Okay, get one. And they do. And I can't. Sometimes they'll bring their own ukuleles. They bring them all the time. They'll bring their own instrument for ukulele. Bass, I've had the little girl bringing her bass in. And if you bring your bass in, she can sit there and play bass the entire time. But she wants to be a teacher. She's my 2nd grade student teacher. And she wants to float around and teach everybody how to play all the instruments. And so we have to work with her. That's fine. You just have to use your nice words, your sweet words, because she's not real good at using her sweet words and her encouraging words. She's good at bossing. Well, and that's what they had. Did I answer all your questions?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right.
People have other questions.
Yeah, it's a really in some ways it's a really weird situation. You got kids that they'll get a keyboard. I got a keyboard for Christmas. I got a keyboard for my birthday. I got drum set. And then you got kids that I say, well, I need keyboards, and somebody has a keyboard, but that kid doesn't want to play keyboard, so they bring it to school, and it's on permanent loan. Yeah, I haven't got any really big ticket item. Well, I can't say that. Somebody donated a really nice Tama drum set. I mean, I've got two really nice big, like a Ludwig set and a Tama set. And then I have 3 other sets that are in here. So I guess that's big ticket. At some point it was. Cymbals. Oh, Lord, what a problem. You got 5 sets. I finally figured out what to do with my hi-hats. I took all these fleece scarves that were donated to the school, brand new, of course, and I cut them so that they are between my hi-hat cymbals. And so they just are sandwiched. These things are sandwiched between them, and they hang out. And I thought the kids were going to rip them out and pull on them. They don't, they just play. But you can't handle it. If you have cymbals in your room, you can't handle 5 drum sets with cymbals. Just no. And all my drum sets, they are filled with foam. I have dead ringers all over every single head. I mean, because you can imagine 5 drum sets.
That made me laugh because my students don't know this, but the first project that I worked on with Dr. Teglas and the Music Research Institute was on the work-related hearing loss of teachers. So that's why it's
It is funny, isn't it?
Yes. And now you're in this situation where literally, please tell me you're wearing earplugs every day.
I can't really say that. I have them. I do not wear them every day. And some days I can tell I should have, but I should. No, every day I should. I know. I mean, it's just like crazy. It's crazy because that's what my dissertation was. And that's what so many of the research projects at UNCG were about. Every undergraduate has to have hearing tests because of this research that we've been doing. That's still ongoing. Years and years after. Yeah.
So is my face still on a poster of me getting a swab in my mouth?
Oh yeah, that's right. That was such a good one though.
Gross. It is, it's gross. But what was the question I had? I had one. Rats. So in a typical, how long do you have with your kids on you see your 4th graders and they're here for their week? How many minutes?
45 minutes.
So in 45 minutes, what's a typical class look like for if you were to break down the sequence of that teaching?
Let me tell you what happened today. Now this was a really good representation of what should happen. They walk in, I tell them I have enough medium and large ukuleles, concerts and tenors for about 13 kids. So I say, if you want a little one, go get it. Then I assign the large ones, go sit down on a dot. I walked straight over to my computer that's connected to the projector, and I started this play along of Circles by Post Malone, which they had learned the week before. So you spend a lot of time the week before. I just start it. I don't talk to them. I just start it. I watch their finger placement, make sure they get all their chords. And they hadn't had a pick test. Let me explain what a pick test is. It's a skills test, but a skills test can be on any one of these instruments. For ukulele, your skills test for circles is going to be, do you C 4 times, C major 7? It's just they call it that. I say the green dot, slide over, And then the F chord is pink +1, because I have dots on
Yeah.
the instrument, right? Okay, so I watch, do they do it in time? Do they get to the 2-finger dot by the time I count to 3? Because there's 8 counts on the F chord. Do they get there by a certain time? And I mean, I had kids that were like grumpy, didn't even want to walk in the door. And I don't say anything to them. Except I say, I didn't even say it today, just say they understand if you're not ready, you can take a few minutes before you join. And I don't talk to them. I don't let them take any of my time. They just understand that. As soon as I went to the one child and I said, you just got your pick, go get it. And they put their instrument down, they go over and they get in the jar and choose a pick, come back and sit down to play with it. Oh, boy, those fingers start flying. And then I start going, it's like duck, duck, goose. I'm going down there. You're done. You're done. You're done. Go get your pick. And like the kid who was just not having it, coming in my room and participating. Oh, well, he sat right down. He was standing outside the room with the door open. I mean, that's just unacceptable. I don't run my class like that, except this kid, he comes in, sits down, and boy, he started getting his fingers going. And then as soon as that was like one time through that song, which is about 2 minutes, and I'm tapping heads and they get it, everybody's joining, everybody's focused. I stop and I go, who wants to go to drums? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Who wants to go to keyboard? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bass, 1, 2, 3, which usually leaves about 4 people on the floor, 4 ukuleles on the floor, ukulele players. And then we just start it again. All right, everybody go away, switch out, they go to something different, start it again. And I get, when I run it like that, I probably get 4 rehearsals of this song and everybody switching around to the different instruments, which is what I want them to be able to do. They're having a fantastic time doing it. They don't know I'm getting 4 rehearsals. They don't know they played that chord progression 60 times. You know, they don't know they did that. They just know I got a pick. I learned how to play 2 fingers on the keyboard. I got that bass down. I can play foot, hand, foot, foot, hand, foot, hand, foot, foot, hand on the drum set the whole time. That's what they know, but that's what I got. And then after we do that, which is 20 minutes of the class, and you've got 25 minutes left, then I let them choose, I let somebody choose, and it's typically a student who is participating, but a little hesitant. And I'll say, well, look at these songs that we know: Circles, Baby, Shake It Off. Oh my goodness, Ed Sheeran's Bad Habits just got put up too. So we've got all those now, We Will Rock You. So I show them all these videos. Which one of these videos do you choose? So I let them choose, and then we switch to that. And that takes the rest of the class, getting them settled into that song. Then that takes the rest of the class. But they go through the same process as they did with I just explained for circles. So that's what the class typically looks like for a 4th grade, where they're not choosing their songs for performance, because that's a whole different animal, that one. Because they're usually choosing out of the lead sheet book or off of these play-alongs. And the play-alongs, I just started using them last week. I just started using them because we have these extra remote days now that they just gave us next week. And so we have to have something posted for students to be able to do, but it has to be, on their asynchronous. So I had to show them what these play-alongs are so I could post them and they would understand what it is and how they can do it. We'll probably get, I don't know, 10 to 12 extra kids get ukuleles at Christmas if they do this at home, because their parents will let them do it and get them an instrument. which is always exciting. So that's what my classroom looks like. It's super intense, just like any music rehearsal class is. And specials classes are just super intense, but fun, and I dance and all that.
What questions do y'all have? What other questions do you have? Things about logistics, things about something interesting. Well, it's interesting to me to see what your answer to this question is, because we just had a interesting experience the other week, and a learning opportunity landed itself in our laps where our commercial music ensemble, which runs it's very Lucy Green-esque. Let's decide what we're gonna do and do it. Yeah. I'm probably gonna have them read that after one of Lucy's chapters after this, after talking to you. But it became, what do you need to know how to do tech-wise in order to make this happen? How much of your rehearsal or class period is plugged in, and what types of know-how do you need to have to make this work? She's a tech person, but
to be honest with you, this is the very first time I ever used the play-alongs, and I'm gonna give you a weird answer, but you're gonna understand it. I never want permanent projection technology in my room, because you know what happens as soon as you get that? They want your room for a classroom.
oh, gross.
Yeah, I do not want it, and I will tell them I do not want it. And actually this week, like 2 days ago, I guess it was Monday, was the first time my principal walked in my room in years. But she walked in, and the assistant comes in all the time, but she walked in and she saw this, and she made a comment about you. Oh, it's so good to see use of technology. I want to scream. But typically my use of technology is getting the karaoke version of some song, pulling the track and changing that to a key that matches the child's voice, change it to a tempo that matches their abilities to do the rap part, and then putting that together somewhere in a playlist on the computer, and then running it through my loud sound system so they can sing along, play along with that. Typically that's the tech I do, and then there's of course troubleshooting and cables and all that come along with, your amp systems.
That was the part that we had an opportunity to do, was the XLRs and how to hook up to, mics, amps, things like that. How many of those would you say you have in your room?
How many what?
How many like mic cables or amplifiers or things like that do you have?
I'm limited by the number of mics I have, which is 4. And one bay on my mixer doesn't work, so I have to put that into a different amp. So yeah, 4 mics. And I only do this for 5th grade. Then 1 4th grade, just because it's squeezed into the 5th grade time, gets that. But that means, and what it means is during my lunchtime, I have to set that stuff up, which it really only takes 10 to 12 minutes to put that stuff up. Set it up and get that together. I used to let the students do it when I had my after school group. They were responsible for setting up everything. I taught them one time, and then they would teach each other, and they knew how to wrap cords and put them away and put the mics away, and they always took care of it perfectly. Now, I can't say perfectly because, cables die. But I have a dad who is a rocker, and I will just send cables home with him with his little boy, and the little boy brings them back and they're fixed.
Nice.
Oh yeah, it's great. I just put them in a little grocery bag. I hand them to him and say, hey, give this to your dad, and they come back and they're fixed. Or he just trades out cables that he has, and then I end up getting a different one, but it works. So yeah, that's a really good thing to have. And then of course, instrument repair. I have one guy who was a teacher here, and he was a band director for 20 years before he decided to be a 5th grade teacher. And so he is also a woodworker, and typically I just take a ukulele that maybe is separated at the heel, and you can't use it if it's separated because it won't hold tune. So I take it to him and he glues and clamps it and then calls me and I go pick it up. But then I also have Mark Dillon.
Yeah.
I know. So my U bass had all these cracks in it. It wasn't from kids misusing it. It was, I don't know why. He can't even understand why in this environment, one of the most humid environments there are, right? And he said, you should never have these problems, these drying problems. But I don't know where that instrument was born, so I have no idea. But he fixed it up, and he doesn't charge because he knows it's going to school, and it's just Mark. So, getting hooked up, you got to get into, I never thought about this, but you got to get into a community where there's somebody who absolutely loves what you're doing. And if they can fix instruments, oh my gosh, because if I didn't know Mark, then my U bass would be unusable. I mean, it had cracks you could see daylight through.
Woo.
And yeah, he put these little cleats in. I just learned that. Cleats. He put cleats in it, and I don't know, you can't even see the things. I don't know what I was looking for. I said, cleat, I'm gonna look for these cleats. I didn't know what it was. You can't even see it. But yeah, getting into the community of guitar players, because they can fix things and they have parts and they can help you. That's been good. Stereos with the upper grades, it's always computer to the stereo. With the younger grades, like when I told you about this book and I showed you these, all of these songs are the K8, it comes from K8 Plank Road. I don't know if you don't know, if you're not elementary, you might not know what that is. But it's the K8 Music Publishing, whatever that is. And they have all these recorder books and all these BAG songs, because I had to choose songs that the kids could remember the sequence, and they're limited to B's and A's and G's when they read. When they're just reading off the board or we're just figuring out a song, they use, at least an octave. But when you were asking about reading, you really have to limit what's required of them to look at something and then play an instrument at the same time. It's nearly impossible, but it happens for some.
Do y'all have any other questions? I'm sad, but I have to let them go. I don't want to, because I want them
to go
to you forever.
But the coolest, let me just end with the coolest thing ever is you start doing this, everybody loves it, nobody asks questions, and you get to make it whatever you want to make it. Yeah. And you get in middle and high school, they are going to be jamming. These kids are going to be rocking out. My kids rock out on drum set and stuff, but like guitar, it's too much for them right now. But anyway, it's a great thing. If you ever get a general music class, take it and make it modern band. Everybody will love it.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I cannot tell you. I'm gonna turn you back around.
All right.
Hello, and thank you again. I cannot tell you. But yeah, I will, if you all think of anything else, send it along. But thanks so much for zooming in with us and for doing this. And we cannot tell you how much we appreciate it.
All right, it's great. Go do it.
Okay.
You'll love it. All right. Bye.